All right, welcome to the second video on Mothernode CRM's Enterprise Edition workflow. So in this particular video, we're going to be talking about some more advanced functions and features along the way throughout the workflow journey, beginning in orders and taking us all the way to invoices. In the first video, we did start in the quoting process, and we showed you how to add different types of line items from free-form, inventory, bill of materials, things like that. We're not going to be covering that at all. We're not going to be adding any line items in this particular demonstration. There were some other benefits in that video as well, if you haven't seen it, that cover the advanced reporting functions, so building custom reports, automating custom reports, as well as how to build saved searches and such for the projects that you're working with and the customers you work with, and how they can be applied throughout all of the modules. Okay, we took a look at that. So in this case here, we're going to keep it simple on the order side. We're not going to be adding anything. Just like the first video, we are not talking about the production process in this. That's a video on its own. We are bypassing the production process. So you can do a combination of both, actually. You can actually put things through production, or you can bypass the production process in the event that you're buying product out and it's being fulfilled by a third party, or you're just installing on your own. So in that case, this is what we're doing. We're talking about that workflow. So let's get started. I'm going to be working with order 378. All right, so here we are in the order. So let's take a look at what we have in this particular order. I'm going to go to order entry over here, and you can see that I have two line items. And the line items that I have are a quantity of 10 each. All the money shakes out over here. And then you can see that I have a note from the sales rep who tells me that they received these products priced by a vendor that we use called Acme Corp. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't use another vendor at this point, just in case there's a price increase on this and you need to be more competitive and buy it someplace else. That's fine. Or if they're out of stock on these particular materials and components that we need to build this particular product. Okay, so it just lets me know that this price over here is being pulled from this particular vendor. Okay, so this is where they got the pricing from. All right, so what we want to do is we want to make a purchase order for these two products to Acme Corp. How do we do that? It's very easy. So I'm going to click on POs over here, and then I'm going to click on Create Purchase Order. And now I have these two items that I can choose. So I'm going to choose this over here, these two items, and I'm going to click Next. Okay. Now I'm going to look for Acme Corp. And in the event that Acme Corp has more than one location, they would be listed below. Okay, so if they have different supply chains across the country, then basically I would choose which one I want and click over here. I'm good to go. And it's that simple. I just made my PO. Okay, so I'm going to put this as a reference demo. There's nothing that ever communicates your customer information to the vendor. Okay, so this is a relationship. These records are between you and the vendor, so the customer's information is never communicated to the vendor unless you willingly do so. So over here, I'm going to click Save. Now we have, again, another familiar looking record, and it's for POs. And then I have my PO entry screen over here, and has the items that's going to the vendor. Okay, you can see now I'm just using the cost, right? It doesn't have my price. It has their cost, which is being populated in here because the total amount is only $822, okay, in this case for both. All right, so there's a couple of other things I need to know right now. Let's go back over here to the order itself. I'm going to open this up. We're going to go to order 378. Okay, now as I mentioned before in the previous video, this is going to be the order being in its open status. Okay, and again, open means that this is where you're working the order. There's some finalities that need to take place. Customer needs to still sign off on some things, or they're finalizing the quantities, whatever that may be. But in this particular instance, we're really in the open status. Now we wanted to get it in progress so we can now fulfill this. Okay, so by hitting in progress, or process order in this case, it puts the order status into in progress. Okay, and what also happens, as I mentioned before, is that you get the ship and install tab. Okay, so now if I click on this as an example, you can see that I can't ship any of these because they haven't been received. So I need to receive these items before I can go ahead and ship them. Makes sense. All right, so there's three places that I can receive product from in my POs. Okay, so the first thing is going to be is that whether or not I'm using the order in production or this particular order, they have a PO receiving tab. So in the PO receiving tab, I can click on this over here and I can receive this. So if this is a smaller order that's coming through the front door and I'm going to deliver it myself, etc., I can be the person in the project management side of things that goes ahead and receives this, okay? Again, if it were orders in production, this same screen is available for a person in production to go ahead and receive those items, okay? All right, now next, the other place I can do this in production, there is a screen called Ready for Receiving. And this is going to be all of my open POs. So you can see I can partially receive or I can fully receive. So when I click on this as an example, these are the items that my shipping clerk can go ahead and receive on their shipping screen right there. Go ahead and tag it as received, and then the order will now recognize those as being received. The final place that I can actually do it, if you want to get into the PO for details, you can actually go into the PO receiving tab, and the same is available to you here, okay? So you have access to this. So I'm going to go ahead in this case, and I'm just going to go ahead and receive this one, okay? And I'm not going to receive this other one. And so we can let's just say we're going to use this as an example to partially ship and then partially bill, okay? All right, I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to leave this one open, and I'm going to say record receipt, okay? Now, I could have received 5 of one and 5 of the first one and still had a balance of 5 left and so on. So you can work within those parameters as well. I'm just trying to keep the math plain and simple here. So let's go back over here to the PO receiving screen, actually use my history and take me back over here to my previous order. And in my previous order, you can see here POs. And now when I look at this, order 378, I have this is complete and this is not. Okay, so if I wanted to, I can go ahead and receive this here. Well, let's go ahead and ship, okay? Let's go ahead and go through this process. Now you can see here, I still can't receive this because I can't ship this rather because it hasn't been received, but over here I can ship these. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ship this 100%, okay? All right, again, per the previous demo, I don't have my UPS or my FedEx installed, so I'm not using any of those options, but of course this is where those would be available to me, and I'm just gonna do this as a shipment like this, okay? I can notify other people in my group that this has been shipped, so they get a confirmation, or they get a notification within the application or an email that this is shipped if they need to know about that, as well as the customer's billing or shipping contact can be notified as well, okay? So as soon as this is shipped, they get an email that says, hey, your signs have been shipped, okay? So you got that. All right, so click over here on create. Good to go. All right, so now I've completed this one and I have this one still outstanding. I'm gonna come back to this screen in just a minute. We are now eligible to invoice for this particular product, okay? Half of this order, what it comes down to. So what I'm gonna do is my accounting department in Ready for Invoice would now have this at the top of the list as one of the first things to be eligible to be invoiced, okay? So you can see here that we have this, and then down below we now also have our indication, as I mentioned in the previous video, that we know that there's still an open PO against this. So maybe it's not eligible to be invoiced, okay? So we would just communicate with the project manager, hey, is this good to go? I see it's a partial. If they say, yeah, absolutely, we need to collect our money on this, we have the right to partially bill, then we're gonna get the $950 invoice out the door, okay? And so the way to do that, as I mentioned in the previous video, but I'm not gonna show it in this, is I'm just gonna click on this and say process selected, and it would make the invoice for me. But what about the instances where the customer is very finicky and they say, hey, listen up, my invoice needs to match my quote? And a lot of times, you know, we see accounting departments that will use any reason not to pay something immediately, and so as soon as there's not a checks and balances in place that this doesn't equal the total amount of the $1,900, they go, well, you know, I just want to hold up on this. You guys get me the final invoice. In that case, then this is what you would do. When we go ahead and receive the last part here, I'm going to say record receipt, click yes. All right, now I can ship the balance, okay? So I'm gonna go back over here to the order that I was in, pull this up, and then what I'm gonna do is I would go here to my, my ship and install, and I am eligible now to ship the remaining amount, okay? So I'm gonna do process shipment, and I'm going to say create shipment again. Now you can see down below I have a list of 2 packing slips, so my running history of what's been shipped, when it's been shipped, etc. Again, if this was done via UPS or FedEx, the tracking numbers would be available as well, okay? So I have that. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my Ready for Invoice screen, and I'm gonna refresh this screen here. Okay, now you can see that I have these 2 partial invoices. Now I want to make them 1 invoice. So I could partially invoice these for each $950 individually, but in this case here, when I open this up, you can see here, this is my Ready for Invoice to inspect. Okay, so this is what the accounting department would look to see. Okay, yeah, everything looks good. There's no notes, I'm fine. But I also see that there's a mergeable shipment that I can fuse back here. Okay, so if I click on this and I say merge, then what's going to happen is that it's going to bring in the other line item from the other shipment here to bring it back together so I can make a single invoice for the $1,900. Okay, when I'm done, I can click make invoice. It will take it out of Ready for Invoice. So it's now in my invoices, and of course you know the rest of the story. You can open this up, you can go ahead and you can invoice this, you can send it electronically, print it out, put it in the mail, whatever you want to do at that point, okay? And then they can pay it electronically, okay? So via ACH or credit card, depending on what your settings are, how you have that set up, okay? So it's done between Stripe and Plaid. All right, let's go back over here to the order itself. Now this is going to be done out of sequence. I could have done this at any particular time, but now what I want to do is I want to make an installation work order for this. So again, you could do this in the process up front, or you can do this after the fact, okay? So it's not dependent on the status of the order. It lets you work independently on that. So I'm going to click on the work orders over here, and the same process is true. It's the same process as we did to make a purchase order here. So in this instance over here, I'm going to click on work order. I'm going to add these 2 line items again to the create the work order. Do you want to create a work order? Yes, I do. All right. I'm just going to call this demo work order. Okay. I'm going to click save. All right. So this is now the work order we just created. If we click on the work order entry screen, we can see the line items that exist for this particular work order to be installed in the field. Okay. So what we're going to do here is that we want to take a look at our scheduling tab, and our schedule tab over here allows us to go ahead and make a particular appointment for this. So you can have multiple trips for the same job if you want. In this case, I'm not going to use the scheduling tab. I'm actually going to go over here and look at the calendar because I want to see what else is going on in the field at particular times. So over here, what I'm going to do is I see my installation work order calendar. I don't have anything that's upcoming, but I do have something that's unscheduled, and this is going to be order number 378, which we just looked at. So this demo work order, I can just drag and drop this anywhere I want. I'm going to throw this on Monday, and this now positions it as an all-day event. You can also subscribe to work order calendars down below, so these calendars will be available in your iCal, your Outlook, whatever it is that you use, and you can do it for all or just for particular people. So if Ken wants to see what he has going on, he can subscribe to his calendar. You can also use some of the advanced reporting to have those reports emailed to you on a weekly basis, daily basis of what it is that you have upcoming throughout the week. Okay, so if you're out in the field all the time, you want to keep in touch with the latest changes and updates, basically those can be emailed to you on a daily basis, tell you what you have coming up for the balance of the week. Okay, so you have that as an example, and of course you can print the schedule over here. All right, so there is that. So if you want, you can open up these. You can see the details down below. If you need to unschedule this for whatever reason, you can go ahead and do that. And then of course you can mark it as complete. Now when you're dealing with third parties, if you want to email them a copy of the work order, what will happen is this. If I go back over here to my work orders and we open up this one over here, work order number 55, what I can do is that I can email this by dispatching a work order to one of my teams. In this case, it's assigned to this person over here, okay? And so when I dispatch the work order, he or she will receive a copy of it in their email, and they'll also have a PDF of the work order. They can also subscribe to their own calendar. So if you're using this person routinely for different types of installs, they can subscribe to their calendars and everything I just mentioned about the calendars. that you can subscribe to with Gmail and or Google Calendars and Outlook will be applicable to them. They can take advantage of that. When they complete the work order on their end, they mark it complete within the actual email by clicking a button, then basically it marks this work order complete. That's how you use work orders in Mothernode CRM. That's going to conclude this presentation of the Mothernode CRM Enterprise General Workflow. If you have any questions, please visit us online at www.mothernode.com. Check out some of our other YouTube videos at youtube.com/Mothernode. You can even visit our support site at support.mothernode.com. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great day.